Criminal charges against Diddy. Mr. Combs was arrested last week and is currently in federal custody, facing criminal charges of racketeering and sex trafficking. He continues to deny all allegations of criminal wrongdoing. The BBC has approached Mr. Combs' lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, for comment on the latest civil lawsuit. For nearly a year, Combs has faced a series of civil lawsuits that accuse him of sexual abuse, rape, and misconduct. Now, federal prosecutors have brought criminal charges against him. Combs has been charged with sex trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution after a federal grand jury in New York chose to bring an indictment against him. He is accused of running a criminal enterprise that consisted of his associates, employees, and the influence of his business empire to coerce, control, and abuse female victims. That includes sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice, according to the indictment. In an indictment unsealed on Tuesday morning, federal prosecutors allege Combs and his associates threatened, abused, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires. That allegedly includes forcing victims into engaging in recorded sexual activity which he referred to as freak-offs. Combs was arrested at a Manhattan hotel on Monday evening about 6 months after federal agents raided two of the musician's homes in Los Angeles and Miami as part of the investigation. The federal investigation coincides with a series of civil lawsuits accusing him of sexual misconduct and sexual abuse over the last year. Mark Agnifilo, a lawyer for Combs, called his client an innocent man with nothing to hide. He said the musician has been cooperating with federal authorities and voluntarily relocated to New York last week in anticipation of the arrest. "We are disappointed with the decision to pursue what we believe is an unjust prosecution of Mr. Combs by the U.S. Attorney's Office," Agnifilo said in a statement. Sean Diddy Combs is currently in jail after being arrested on charges of racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. The rapper was taken into custody on September 16 after nearly a year of ongoing investigations which included home raids and several lawsuits against him, alleging sex abuse and rape. The allegations came to a head in September when Combs was indicted on 3 charges, and a judge denied the $50 million bail proposal that his attorney put forth. In the indictment, prosecutors alleged that Combs manipulated women into engaging in highly orchestrated performances, which he called freak-offs, that also allegedly involved paid male sex workers. Per the indictment, Combs also paid the sex workers and women to fly to wherever he was located at the time. The day after he was arrested, Combs pled not guilty, and his attorney, Mark Agnifilo, told People he was disappointed by what he called an unjust prosecution. 1,000 bottles of baby oil, cocaine, and violence, disturbing details alleged in Diddy's sex crimes indictment. Sean Diddy Combs is a music icon, self-made entrepreneur, loving family man, and proven philanthropist who has spent the last 30 years building an empire, adoring his children, and working to uplift the black community, Agnifilo said. "He is an imperfect person, but he is not a criminal. From what he's been charged with to where he is currently in custody, here's everything to know about what Sean Diddy Combs did and what's next for the rapper." Combs was indicted on 3 felony counts: racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. In addition to those charges put forth in the indictment, the prosecution also alleged that Combs partook in kidnapping, forced labor, bribery, and other crimes. The indictment alleged that he ran a criminal group that carefully organized what Combs referred to as freak-offs. Members of his staff allegedly planned events from start to finish in which Combs manipulated women to join him in drug-fueled orgies with male prostitutes, and filmed them to silence the victims after. Planning the freak-offs allegedly included arranging travel for the women and sex workers and supplying drugs such as cocaine, methamphetamine, and oxycodone to coerce partygoers into sex. Combs' staff would make sure to book and stock hotel rooms with the necessary supplies and would clean the room afterwards, while also resupplying Combs and delivering cash to the sex workers, the indictment claims. Agnifilo denied the charges and said that he and Combs would fight like hell to free the Bad Boy Records founder. "He's going to fight this with all of his energy and all of his might and the full confidence of his lawyers, and I expect a long battle with a good result for Mr. Combs," Agnifilo said. The September indictment was not the first time alleged freak-offs were mentioned. In her November 2023 lawsuit, singer Cassie, who used to date Combs, claimed that she was forced to participate in them. Combs denied the allegations at the time. Now, more claims about the alleged parties have come to light, including the lengths that Combs' team went in planning them. The freak-offs began when Combs allegedly lured a woman in under the pretense of a romantic relationship and used force, threats of force and coercion to make her participate. He would organize and direct the freak-offs, recording them to masturbate too often without the woman's knowledge or consent. Drugs were allegedly distributed to reinforce compliance, the indictment claims. After a freak-off ended, and they could last a number of days, the indictment alleged Combs' team distributed 4 fluids for participating members to recover from the physical exertion and drug use. As evidence of these parties, prosecutors said that authorities found freak-off supplies, including drugs and over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant, when Combs' homes in Miami and Los Angeles were raided in March 2024. In addition to the sex trafficking and abuse allegations, Combs is also being accused of physical abuse. Prosecutors claimed in the indictment that Combs' history of physical abuse dates back to at least 2009, and he has since abused a slew of women, striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects at, and kicking them. Per the indictment, the alleged behavior was witnessed by members of his staff and was widely known. The abuse often left visible enough marks that victims were required to remain in hiding while they recovered. Prosecutors specifically pointed to a March 2016 incident in which Combs was captured dragging and abusing Cassie on camera in a LA hotel. The indictment said he kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at the singer. CNN published the video footage of the incident in May 2024, with Combs responding on social media and stating that he took full responsibility for the altercation and called it rock bottom. The indictment further alleged that Combs attempted to silence a hotel worker who witnessed the abuse with bribery. After pleading not guilty but being denied bail while he awaits trial, Combs will be held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, which is known for being dangerous and chronically understaffed. The facility holds 1,600 inmates, most of whom are awaiting trial. The conditions of the jail are severe. It's had outbreaks of violence and a high number of deaths and suicides. In their request for bail, Combs' lawyers wrote in their motion that several courts in this district have recognized that the conditions at Metropolitan Detention Center are not fit for pretrial detention, per the Daily Beast. Just earlier this summer, an inmate was murdered, they wrote. At least 4 inmates have died by suicide there in the past 3 years. In June 2024, inmate Ariel White was stabbed to death inside MDC while awaiting trial, and just a month later, a second man, Edwin Cordero, died after an injury in a fight. His lawyer called Cordero's death senseless and completely preventable, adding that his client was another victim of MDC Brooklyn, an overcrowded, understaffed and neglected federal jail that is hell on earth, per the New York Times. Combs has a long road ahead of him. This case is 100% going to trial, attorney Nima Rahmani, a former federal prosecutor and president of West Coast Trial Lawyers, told People after he was indicted. Rahmani said he does not expect Combs to enter a plea deal after pleading not guilty, explaining that the businessman was not going to take any deal where he is going to spend decades in federal prison. Now that Combs has been denied bail, he, like all defendants, has the right to a speedy trial that takes place within 70 days, Rahmani said. However, the lawyer added that most defendants waive this right. I don't expect that trial to happen within 70 days, but if Diddy insists, we would have a trial before the end of the year. That is unlikely, though, he said. What is more likely is that before the trial, Combs will file motions to try to get some of the charges dismissed. There are all sorts of pre-trial motions that can be filed by the defense to attack the indictment or the evidence, Rahmani said.
Are you looking for entertaining and educational content to watch? Subscribe to our YouTube channel today for a variety of interesting videos on topics you love. Join our growing community and never miss out on new uploads. Hit the subscribe button now. Discover new ways to learn and be entertained by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Engage with like-minded viewers and stay updated on our latest videos. Don't miss out, click the subscribe button and be part of our exciting YouTube community.